Let's give all of the sponsors on this a huge round of applause. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much, guys. We got a lot of booths set up. We have property management, lenders, hard money lenders, real estate investing community investor, which was one of our panel guests tonight, so that's exciting, Dakota. Peak to Pillar Home Inspection, who's also a licensed contractor, Peter Finnig, one of the nicest, honest guys you'll ever meet. So if you need a good contractor inspector, he's amazing. The Fairfield sponsoring this venue. I worked with the guy at Meyer. He was at Costco. He was my manager, and then now he owns this freaking building. Put like $9 million and brought it back to life. And Fort Wayne needed this, so really grateful for everybody who's helping making this possible and putting some money towards like future things that we're going to do with this community. So we're really excited and really thankful for these people. So if you can, at least support them, network with them. They have a lot of contacts, so give these people love. But anyways, real quick, I'm going to try to get through this stuff relatively quick tonight because I want to give a lot of time to our panel guests because they're amazing freaking people. I definitely, if you've been following my social media, I've been hyping them up. We got amazing people tonight, but this is something that I want to be definitely intentional about is guiding principles for this community. One of the big ones is to check your ego. I believe like the more that I know, the more I realize I know nothing. We're all students here, so make sure like, it doesn't matter how far in your career you are, like you can totally learn, and if you just have a servant heart, like that's just the way to be. So give without expectations. Don't come here asking what can I get, ask how can I help, and I think the more that we do that, the more we'll serve each other. Next is community over competition. I mean, I really want this group to be an abundant-minded group, not a scarcity-minded group, because that's what's actually required to attract it, is you have to start to become abundant-minded. There's unlimited deals and unlimited money, and the more you can adopt that, that's why we can collaborate together and do way more together. Which leads into radical integrity. We really try to challenge unethical practices here. We really care about just doing things the right way, right? I think a lot of landlords and investors get a very negative connotation. There are slumlords out there, there's really unethical investors, and we don't want that to be our community, and we're committed to being the opposite of that. We want to create a good name for what investors are. So, and lastly is BLN. We just ask that you're here, if you got to have side conversations, just take them in the back, because then it gets hard for other people that are engaged and want to be here, but you could be doing anything else right now. So let's be committed in the room, in the group, and let's help each other add value. And just to encourage you, you might ask a question that you think is silly, but it might be the very thing that changes somebody else's life. Just because they hear it one way might be the very thing that changed their whole family tree forever. So I just want to encourage you guys, this is a very dynamic back and forth group. There's no super formalities here. We want you to be engaged. We want you to ask the honest questions so you can be the change in your families. So that's really important to us. But next meeting, it's a little jumbled up, that's funny, is going to be, it's always the second Tuesday of the month right now at least. It's going to be at this venue. They sponsored this venue for the next year for us, which is just amazing. When this REIA group first started 10 years ago, yeah, give Fairfield a round of applause. Thank you to the staff too, you guys are awesome. When this group started almost 10 years ago, Drew Wired founded this. We were just in a basement of a real estate office. There was no cell phone service at all, and now we have a gorgeous wedding venue that we have the privilege of using. So, but it's September 8th, 6 to 8 p.m. is the next one. So get it in your calendar. That way you just get reminded. The next three things, one will be hits and misses. So we're going to do some shares. And again, I do encourage you, think of a couple things that hey, if I share this, it just might encourage somebody else to go for it. So hits and misses, who would like to go first, and does anyone want to be a mic runner for me? Tammy? Okay, all right. Who's got a win from this month? A win that went freaking awesome. Something that was positive in their business, something that's positive with their real estate investment. Art in the house. Give them a round of applause. Let's go. Just hold it up close to your mouth. Let me see. Technical difficulties already. They said this worked, so here we go.
There we go. Green
Testing.
light.
There you go.
There we go. There we go.
Thank you.
Okay.
You got that?
My wife and I normally do fix and flips, and we had a chance here. Last year we had a situation where a lady had to move into the house sooner before it was ready. But anyway, it turned out that her daughter ended up buying it, the very first house. So it was interesting because that is a win because she's just a young lady and she acquired the financing, and it turned out very well for us.
Let's go. Give him a round of applause. That's awesome. Let's get another positive win. Who's got a win from this month? I'll go real quick, and I'll let Jimmy go. We just got under contract for our largest deal yet. We're literally doubling our door count in one freaking deal. It's crazy. So, more to come on that, but it's just nuts. Like, over 6 years of just brutal sacrifice, and like, we've gotten to 62 doors, and in one deal, we're like more than doubling it. So I just want to encourage you guys, it's 100% freaking possible. So if I worked at Costco before this, so yeah. Jimmy, go ahead. Give him a round of applause.
Let's go, Gerig. I'm Gerig. I own Abundance Life Coaching, so I'm a life coach, but I'm also a real estate investor. And I haven't been in the game for a long time through a divorce and have been rebuilding ever since. Yeah. And the investor community, I took that investment. I'm so thankful that I did because they found me a quadplex, triplex kind of quadplex out in Huntington University where I'll be able to talk to my doctorate programs, undergrad circuits, and just get all those students in there, have a good place for them to live, and start building that portfolio again. So super excited.
All right, one more win. Who's got a great win from this last month? Could be a deal you got, whatever you want. We'll take a good share. I will just pick somebody too. TJ, you're up. No, I'm kidding. We'll get him. One more, just one more quick one. Oh, here we go. Lyric, hit it. Give him a round of applause.
Okay, you guys can hear me? Yeah. My name is Lyric Vaught. I'm on Jordan's Wildman's team. I've been in real estate for about 4 years now. I've been on Jordan's team for about 3 months. I would say that I've learned more in those 3 months than my whole 4 years of real estate. So he's a good guy to be around. For wins, I would say I got my first deal under contract.
Whoa, give him a freaking huge round of applause. That's amazing. Woo! Great job, Lyric. That's freaking awesome. Man, it's crazy. Just as a side thing, when you do your first real estate investment deal, it's probably one of the scariest things you will ever do in your entire life, and who you become in the process changes everything, and I can tell you it's worth it. So do your first freaking deal. We'll do 2 misses. So who's had some bad crap that went wrong this month?
I know somebody that did.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Let's see. Uh-oh. He's like, I ain't sharing shit.
He's not sharing.
Who's got a miss? Who's got a miss? Beau? Okay. Get it to her, Tim. Give him a round of applause. He's a beast.
I thought I had 2 deals under contract until I walked in here tonight.
Oh, shoot. No! We're still teaching Beau the abundance piece. It's good. That's good. Who's got another miss? Thank you for sharing. Evan? Okay.
So Dakota Bailey has all these vacant lots and some of the LTD signs or whatever he's been putting up. And so one of them that I was mowing and stuff, and then the sign was down. I'm like, hey, the sign's there. And so I've been billing him for this vacant lot, and he doesn't even own it.
Oh,
and
my
then the
God.
sign's down.
Sounds like a miss for him, not you.
And then, so it's a miss for both of us. So now he had the LTD sign on that lot, though. I'm like, well, it's got to be the right lot. His sign's there, so I'm going to keep mowing it.
How many
but now
months?
his sign's
That's
down.
the question. How many months?
Few. Since the beginning of summer.
Oh,
I don't
geez,
know.
all right. Give him a round of applause. That's awesome. Thank you, Evan.
So now we're making a new spot.
Okay, the next one, and again, I encourage you to share. It's worth doing. Haves and wants. This is your opportunity to shout out your business or what you do if you would like opportunities. That way we can network. And then also the things that you want. Like if you have something that you need in your business and you need support, let's use the time that we have together in this room and let's help each other out. Go ahead. Haves and wants.
Haves, we always have a bunch of single family that we sell wholesale. So if you guys are looking for more single family, that's kind of what we specialize in. For once, we're looking for 5 units to 100 units. So if you guys got anything like that, looking to offset some capital gains tax. So if you guys got anything, let me know.
Let's go. Give them a round of applause. Thank you. Who has a have? Something you have to give to the group, something you need from the group. What do you got?
I have a triplex in Gerig, listed for $220, at appraised for $250.
Okay.
It has 1 vacant, so I can show it. I have information on the table. It is a no-nonsense deal. We want a buyer.
Let's go. Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, buddy. Oh, it's yours? It's your triplex? Oh, he wants to buy it. There you go. Here's the deal right here. Have or want? Who has a have or a want?
I want to make connections. That's why we're all here, right?
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Johnny, what do you need?
Where?
So we have an abundance of, okay, how should I say this? We're in a weird time right now, but basically we have money that we want to lend, and we also have opportunities for people who have money that they don't want to invest in like higher risk stuff. So if you are either of those people, have money and don't want risk, relatively speaking, and or don't have money and want to buy your first deal or something like that, come to me because I can help you out in either of those situations.
And you are with
INVSTR Lending.
Yep, hard money lender. They're also a sponsor of the REIA. Give them a round of applause. Last chance. Anybody has a have or a want, something they can give or something they want to receive? Okay, one more over here.
I'm sorry. I'm trying.
Give them a round of applause. Thank you for having courage to share. That's awesome.
Hi, me and my partner, we're actually looking for cash buyers out in Fort Wayne. So if you guys are willing to network with us, we'll be able to help you guys find some properties.
What's your name?
Julio.
Okay, go see Julio if you want deals. All right, let's get our panelists. Oh, one more. Let's get them. Give them a round of applause. Thank you, brother, for sharing.
Hello, my name is Dan Ellsworth, and just a little bit of background. November of this year will be 32 years clean from crack cocaine, and I've been
Give them a round of applause. That's amazing. Wow. Let's go, dude.
I've been doing rehab and recovery ministry ever since, and so I have a heart for the lost and for the downtrodden. Basically, our niche is we find hotels and motels that need converted, or preferably like extended stays or Candlewoods that don't need converted, to where we can utilize HCV and VASH vouchers. We're currently looking at 2 hotels right now, but we are in the market for hotels or motels generally between 50 to 100 doors, and funding for those. That's the need. And haves, we have experience in, we have a very large group support system, and we have a large experience or extended experience in sales and an extended experience in helping people. We are networked with a lot of the local and state agencies because of the ministry that I've been doing for the last 30 years. So have a lot of contacts that way. And so if you have any need of like a closer or government, local, county, state government contacts, we'd be happy to help.
Round of applause.
No,
Thank
we
you,
don't
brother.
write grants.
Let's go. That's awesome. All right, so now I do request, because these guys are extremely busy and they have been willing to donate their time, their energy, their experience. So, gentlemen, if you could come to the stage, and while they do, give these guys a huge round of applause. Woo! Wow, this is a rock star panel tonight. I'm excited. Gentlemen, make sure you mic up on the way up. Oh, Adam. Gerig's got a beer. He's ready. Beau had a tequila shot before this, so he's loose and ready to go.
Don't touchy.
Come on in, boys.
Touchy.
We're going to mic them up real quick. And I do challenge you, we're going to spend a lot of time here tonight doing mostly Q&A, so please try to have your questions prompt and ready to go, because these are the types of people that you can learn from. They're honest, they have tremendous experience, they have a wide variety of experience. So we'll get through some stuff, but I want you guys to have as much time as possible while we are here, so you can ask your questions. And there's no silly questions. Well, we'll see, but. All right, guys, so Adam Gerig, tell us about you. Give us like a 2-minute highlight, your investment career so far, your story, like why did you get into this? What has this business done for you? And yeah, tell us about Adam Gerig.
Do I speak? Okay. So my dad was originally a broker with in Auburn, Weibel Realty.
I know some of you may know it, may not, but I grew up in the 80s going with my dad to the office and him doing listings. He owned a triplex in Garrett, and so that kind of piqued my interest in walking through properties and learning the bad side of things, you know, getting fleas and all the bad things of real estate investing. And so I graduated college at the University of St. Francis, got my realtor's license in 2008, and from there went back into property management. And as luck would have it, Tammy, she's here. The month after I got into property management, she gave her book to me, essentially, not by choice, but I ended up with about 100 doors managing rental properties, and that kind of got me into the property management side of things. I slowly went into investing, and then I've been doing that pretty much full time, mostly wholesaling, a little bit of flipping over the last 10 to 15 years.
Wow. Thank you, bro.
Oh.
All right, the man of myth, Beau Schendel. Let's go.
Yeah, my name's Beau Schendel. I have a beautiful wife, four beautiful kids. Started investing in real estate maybe 14 years ago by house hacking. Actually, I bought my first property to live in as a primary residence. Happened to be a 4-bedroom house, so kind of turned it into a frat house at the time. Had a couple of my buddies living with me, and that light bulb went off. Where I'm like, they're paying me more money than my mortgage payment. Something that's not right. Kind of felt guilty about it in a way, but. From there, went and bought a couple distressed properties and was working a full-time job, still am working a full-time job. Rehabbed those properties on nights and weekends and rented them to college kids because I was 24 at the time, so I rented houses down by Indiana Tech to college kids. So that was kind of the start of everything. From there, one house turned into two turned into four turned into a couple hundred, So yeah, that's where I'm at now. We do primarily apartments. We do a lot of flips as well.
Let's go, thank you. Alan Jones. Woo! Let's talk about this man's fit real quick. Are you kidding me? Look at this dude dressing up. Hey, somebody go get me a blazer real quick. Look at him.
Didn't know what to wear.
Oh my
Nice,
gosh.
dude. That was good.
Always go on the bright side, man. Look at you. Wow.
Alan Jones, my beautiful wife Jackie is here.
Give her a round of applause. Give the wife a round of applause. The magic behind the scenes that makes it happen.
Father of 4, former school principal. I was an administrator for 20 years, school principal for 13 years, owner of Principal Properties, a number of other LLCs. Together with my wife, we owned 85 rentals, flipped a number of houses for other investors, and just continue to grow and continue to learn. And
Let's go. Give him a round of applause. Come on. And this dude's still showing up with a boot on. Come on.
Yep, so my name is Dakota Bailey. This is my wife over here, Nicole Bailey. We have a baby girl. She's about to be 1 year old. Her name's Perseus, and then we're having another baby on the way, probably in about somewhere around 7 weeks now. So
wow, round of applause for that. That's incredible.
2 baby girls. So my story, I did not have any parents or anybody that I knew that was in real estate. Honestly, I grew up extremely poor. Some of the time was in foster care. A lot of the time, my dad was actually in prison. For most of it, and just grew up around a lot of drugs. I grew up in Kendallville, and so most of my family was on meth and just doing a bunch of crazy stuff. And I think that a lot of times you have 2 choices. One is to choose okay, I'm either going to follow my parents or go down that same path, or you say I'm going to go the exact opposite. I'm never going to do anything like that. And I kind of vowed to do the opposite of anything that I saw. And so I was still rebellious, and so it's kind of good that they gave me an example. I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to not do, but I still didn't really listen to authority, rules, anything like that, especially in school. I would have probably been talking to Alan a whole lot if he was my principal, bro. We'd have been best friends. That'd be crazy, dude. But no, I would have definitely been talking to him a lot. So in high school, a very rebellious person. And right out of high school, though, honestly, I was just like, all right, I got to get to work. Did a lot of landscaping jobs, worked for the street department. And then I got into sales. And that was when everything kind of changed for me. Got into car sales and started reading a lot of books, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. and then started going to the REIA, and then it just changed the trajectory, and now been investing since 2018. So it's been a wild ride.
Who's the oldest investor here? Oh, man. When did you start?
2010.
2010. I know, he does
Well,
look the
I was going to say, it
youngest.
depends on what you mean by that question, by age or by experience.
Experience, yeah. So, yeah, I was going to say Adam's been in a while. 2008, okay, awesome. So, just one thing I want to ask. What has flipping and real estate investing done for you? Like, who were you before you started doing real estate investing? And just as a quick to gauge the room, who has never done a deal so far? And please have the courage to raise your hand. We would love that. So actually, about, I don't know, not even a third of the room. That's good. Quarter. And who's done a decent amount of deals so far? Let's say like 10 deals or less. Yeah. Who's done 50 deals or more? Okay. And who's done 50 deals or less? Just trying to give the gauge of the room. Anyway, so like, I think there's a good mix of different age ranges here, and I definitely want to help people to see. So who were you before real estate, and what has it done for you, and like, what life has this afforded you now that you have had success through real estate investing and specifically flipping?
Yeah, so like my other background, obviously my dad was a realtor at Weibel's, but my main background was healthcare. My family, my grandma started.
It's going in and out a little.
Yeah. My grandma started Best Nursing Home in Auburn in the 50s, and so I've been in healthcare like my entire life. So when I graduated college, I actually thought I was going to be going back into healthcare. I got my administrator's license, was going to run nursing home facilities like the rest of my family. My dad actually retires this Friday. He's 71 years old, and he retires from John Fisher's Eagle. He's been a real estate, or he's been an administrator in healthcare for the last 20-some years. But that was my path. That was what I saw for myself. And then 2011, my family sold that business, and we had a corporation called American Senior Communities come in and purchase that, and they basically gave us all one-year contracts. And with about 6 months into that contract, there was a lot of, this is a report you need to do on the report, and I was like, this is not for me. I'm not doing this. Probably just kind of more like Dakota, like, you're gonna tell me I'm doing this, I'm not doing it, kind of thing. And so my family, luck would have it, built senior 38 units there in Auburn, and I became the manager overnight of that. And then kind of with Tammy, it just kind of dovetailed, and it was a lot of, I mean, it's God and luck, honestly. But I would say that what it's afforded me is like, I have the best schedule. I can't complain about being able to go do things and spend time with my family and attend ball games or be coach or any of that, and that's probably worth the most to me.
Yeah. Thank you, bro. That's awesome.
What was your question again?
Just like, who were you before like real estate, and what has it afforded you? Like the life that you have now created from being a successful real estate investor, who have you become as a part of that process?
Well, when I started real estate investing, I was 23, so I was probably naive enough to just believe, and not take that risk, So it's really hard for me to kind of gauge who I was at before real estate. But since real estate, it's like he said, it's really brought a bunch of freedom to my life, opportunity. I met a bunch of great people through the industry, a lot of people here to support me. So that's been probably the biggest thing for me, is just the people, the people I get to meet throughout doing real estate. I've got great relationships with contractors, lenders, realtors, everybody within the industry. It's really a neat community to be a part of. So that's probably the biggest thing.
Nice. Thank you, bro.
I would say before real estate, I was a kid from Muncie that grew up poor. I grew up in poverty. You grew up so poor that it's just the way it is. We had the government cheese, food stamps, all that stuff. That's what we grew up on. Best cheese on earth, by the way. I mean, the grilled cheese, phenomenal. Still good. Oh man, still fire. But, you know, when you grow up in poverty, you don't know any different.
Yeah.
But like what Dakota said, I knew I wanted more than that at an early age. And luckily I had a mother who instilled in me early. I got to tell you the story real quick. My mother was the one who, you know, for my 12th birthday, when I was growing up, Walter Payton was the guy. Everybody knows Walter Payton, sweetness. Chicago Bears best running back, one of the best all times. I wanted some roos really bad. So, Mom, you gonna hook me up? Absolutely, I got you. I said, okay, sweet. So all day I'm bragging. I get on the bus stop, I'm bragging. I go to school, I talk to Miss K. She's my teacher, my favorite teacher, Miss K. My mom, she got the roos for me when I get home. Lunchtime, gym time, after school, I get off the bus, I run home, super excited. My mom's sitting on the couch watching soap operas. And, Mom, it's me, your son. I'm here, I'm ready. Where are my roos? And she said, they're in the garage. And I'm like, the garage? You know, that's disrespectful. Why would you put some kangaroos in the garage? I go to the garage, I open up the garage door, and it was a brand new red lawnmower. So she bought me a lawnmower, and she went down the block, and she found about 6 people that I could cut their lawns. Wow. And by the time I could save up money to get those roos, you think I bought those roos? Nope. Hell no. I'm not spending my hard-earned money on those shoes. So I grew up with that mentality. Just hard work gets you where you want to go. I try to instill that in my kids. I try to be the role model. And as a principal, I did that same thing with my staff, those families. And about 3 years ago, I was able to step out on faith, put 2 feet in. Somebody reminded me, like, man, you've built this portfolio with 1 foot in with rentals and 1 foot out, and 1 foot in school. What would happen if you put 2 feet in? And a couple years ago, I jumped off that cliff, and it was awful. So it was terrible. I mean, like, you know, there's this fascination, like, man, I can't wait to just be on my own and be independent. It's gonna be fantastic. And you know, it's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
Realistically, I jumped off that cliff, and man, I had bumps and bruises, scars that you won't understand until you jump off that cliff yourself.
Yeah, very true.
And it took a full year to really come around that bend and understand, okay, I'm glad I jumped off that cliff. I understand who I am in this game. I don't need to be like anybody on this stage. These are my peers. I love them to death. When they are buying the rib, flipping the rib, selling, wholesaling, we got an investment. I just got a house through their investment, you know, through their money. Mm-hmm. I love that. But I have my own lane. And I think once I understood that, then that was the switch that turned it around for me. So now, I love my family. I try to spend as much time, even though my wife, she'll probably tell me, no, that's a lie. But, you know, I try to pour into them and give them opportunity and experiences now that I didn't have growing up on government cheese and food stamps.
Wow, round of applause for that. That's great. Thank you, Alan. That was good.
And it's crazy hearing his story. It honestly reminds me a lot of what I was just thinking about. My dad actually gave me a very, very similar lesson. And when I was like 14, I actually moved in with him. And I asked him, I was like, Dad, I need like $10 for gas. I was driving like this piece of crap Hyundai Accent. It got like really good gas mileage, so $10 would last me like a month. And then I was like, Dad, I just need $10. And he's like, okay. What are you going to do for it? And so I had to mow the lawn or I had to do the dishes. And he always taught me, like, if I ever asked for money, it was like what I was going to do to earn the money. And yeah, it's crazy. Just like learning that lesson when I'm young, I'm remembering what were those moments that actually changed it for me. So that was a moment that changed it for me, and it ended up being mowing too. And then I was going to say something very similar to honestly all these guys and the lifestyle and like who I was before. Honestly, I was selling cars. I was making a lot of money. I actually felt wealthier when I was selling cars because I was making $100,000 to $150,000 a year. I didn't have a lot of responsibilities. I could leave it. I felt wealthier because I didn't have debt, risk. I mean, it's all calculated, but at the end of the day, there's still risk there. Mm-hmm. And more responsibility is the thing that I would say. And the responsibility also is a blessing in a lot of ways, because that's really where a lot of my relationships come from, and all the people that I mentor. Like, I got a lot of young guys around me that I get to help become wealthy, but also I want to do it in a not just a sense of like, okay, this is the one thing we're chasing after, but I want to make sure that we're chasing after everything: faith, family, fitness, finances, all of it at the same time. And so that's really why I feel like God has blessed me in the position that I'm in to mentor people like that, so they can go and mentor more people and show that it's possible for everybody. And you can, I believe that God wants us to actually have all of those things, and it's a balance of each one. Whereas I see a lot of guys, who make a lot of money, they're really wealthy, and like they're overweight, or or their family sucks. It's like, I don't want that life. I don't want a life where I'm making a lot of money, but I'm not healthy, and I don't like the way that I look, or like my family life sucks, or I don't have any faith, like I'm not actually going to church, or like having a relationship with God. Like, that to me would be a very unfulfilled life, and that's what I feel like real estate has afforded me, is honestly just if there was anything I could narrow it down to, I feel like the word would be influence, because people listen when you've accomplished something. If I had never accomplished anything, most people would not listen to me. And so God gave me this influence, and then now I'm preaching Him. So I can continue to say, hey, this is the person where I got all my skill set, all my strength, it all came from God. And so that's what I feel like has afforded me most of all, is probably influence. And again, this all comes from God. So, yeah.
Thank you. Wow, that's awesome. Give him a round of applause. So I was trying to think through, like, all right, if this is a flippers panel and all these guys on here have been successful flippers in different ways, like, what are the main things that I think of that makes you successful? Like, what has actually made you successful in doing flips? I think some things I think of, and I want to build upon this, is being able to find deals and the importance of buying right, and I want us to talk on that. We talked about that earlier. Buying deals, funding them, managing the rehabs, and then dispositioning them, and knowing how to manage that whole process, and having the vision for, okay, how can I take this property that is either in horrible, deplorable condition, or may just need, grandma special or whatever, and how can I turn it into something that I can create enough value that I can get paid? And so if you guys could go through your process of how you flip, what's important principles that the group, if they ever want to do flips of their own, or maybe they're doing a couple flips and they want to take it to the next level like you guys have. And they're like, give the mic to Alan. We're going to be giving the mic to Alan a lot tonight. But yes, just run us through your process. Like, take it from the buy, the funding, the construction management, to the disposition. What does that look like as somebody who does flips at a high level?
Thanks, Adam. Great question. I think early on when I started to flip it, can you hear me?
Yep. Good.
I think early on when we first began flipping, it was, man, I think I can make 10 to 15,000 on top of that. Like, simple math, my gut, and that quickly evolved when you're not making it money that you thought that you were going to make. So being able to drill it down, I'm fortunate that my wife is a realtor. So we try to keep as much money in-house, because I really hate to give that 6% to a friend or whoever I was working with. But now that my wife is our realtor, we're able to keep that 3% or 6%, depending on how that deal is structured. Mm-hmm. But really, a lot of deals that I'm able to purchase are probably going to come through LTD and other wholesalers, auctions. We are fortunate enough now to have a large buy box. So there's a good range. I don't even know what that range is, but been fortunate enough to do that. And just over time, with relationships and building teams, is really kind of like school for me. I get to manage multiple teams. So right now we're probably in between 8 to 12 properties, and I probably have 3 groups that I can tackle all of those. So I never feel too stressed, just because I know I can send this crew, they're going to take care of this house in 2 weeks. I have this crew, it's 4,000 square feet, we're going to be here for maybe 6 weeks, and then so on and so forth. And then, honestly, one of the things that I do at the beginning of every property, I'm kind of artsy-fartsy. I like to spend a lot of time alone at the house, just to dive into that creative side. I come up with the concepts. I come up with the colors, the schematics. What's the carpet going to look like? What are the light fixtures? I just like that part. That is my thing. It's weird and strange, I know, but yeah, that is not my wife's thing. But she's fantastic at it. But I love that part. With technology now, I use a lot of ChatGPT. Some things that I'm not able to visually see, so a lot of times I'll use ChatGPT. I'll take a photo of a room and able to, hey, put this fan here, use this flooring from Lowe's. So I just set intention to what that looks like, and I'm able to dive into certain properties that way. And at the end of each property, I mean, we're looking at the ARV and what does that look like, and we look at what a lot of the houses are going for, and then we put our finishes on it, and we feel like we're always pretty strong, and we've been batting a strong percentage the past couple of years. So, I mean, that's really some of the process.
Let's go. Thank you, bro. We'll dive more into that. Yeah, good. Thank you.
Yeah, so for us, I would say what we do best is finding the deal and then the underwriting, which is obvious. I mean, that's wholesaling. That's probably the most important part. What's interesting is we could wholesale a property that we thought we could flip and we could make a lot of money on. Let's say that it didn't end up working out, and we're like, you know what, we're gonna keep it, and then we flip it ourselves. What's crazy is if we gave it to Alan, he'd probably make money on it, and then we end up losing money on it. So I think that for us, we're better at doing the underwriting up front. We're worse at, you can still make a deal go bad if you don't manage it right, if you take too long, if you don't have good contractors. It's crazy how the spread could be there, but you just mess it up, or you got, overbid by contractors or whatever it is. And so that's kind of what we found is not our strong suit. And I'm not a details person. When he talks about that gets him excited, it literally drains me. I can do it, and I bet Alan can also do, acquisitions. I bet he'd be a killer acquisition. Actually, if you want a job. But I don't know if it would give him the same energy. And so that's what we look for is, does this give you energy? And so the main thing that I think would be helpful for people, though, and it's going to be so simple, but I feel like that's just the way that it usually goes. Things are more simple than we want to make them. It's like we know how to get in shape, but we just don't do it. All you have to do is run your actual numbers. So if you just put in the numbers on what is going to be, okay, I think ARV is going to be this. I go get quotes from contractors. I see the taxes are going to be this amount. You look on the tax website, you know what that's going to be. You find out what your lending is going to be. You put that in there. You account for everything that you can account for, and then just throw in for what you don't know, because you don't know. It's like, just run your numbers. I can't even tell you how many guys I've had, acquisitions guys, usually specifically, they're like, hey dude, I don't know if this is a good deal or not. I'm like, okay, send me over the calculator. Oh, I didn't run one. Right, that's why you don't know if it's a good deal or not.
Right.
And so when you go run the calculator, guess what? They usually don't come back because they know if it's a good deal or not. And so at the end of the day, it's just run your numbers and actually get down to the specifics and account for anything that you don't know about. And so for a new investor, I would just say, just throw in $10,000 of miscellaneous that you're gonna miss, because there's always at least 10 grand worth of whatever you think you got. And if it's over 2,000 square foot, throw in 20. Because there's gonna be something that you missed that you don't know about. And it's crazy when you underwrite a property like that and you accounted for everything that you know about and you accounted for everything you don't know about. I'm telling you, sometimes you still feel scared buying it, but at the end of the day, you feel a whole lot more confident. I would say I've never felt 100% where I'm like, it's 100% certain we're gonna make money. It's usually, the highest I've ever felt is 99%. I'm like, there's a 99% chance we're gonna make money. And so at the end of the day, if you're waiting until you feel 100% confident you're gonna make money, don't. Especially on your first deal, the highest confidence level you probably feel is 75 to 80%, because you've never done it before. And that's where we utilize people like Adam's helped us out, Jay Redding's helped us out. Get somebody who has flipped a lot of properties, get them to take a second look. If they say it's a good deal, probably is a good deal. So that's kind of what we do. Is the underwriting is what I think we do the best, honestly. The whole flipping and managing, I would say we're very, very so-so at.
I think that's really cool because you can be good at one thing and suck at the rest of it, and you can still succeed, right? Like, of all of the deals you guys have done, and I mean myself included, how many times have you messed up in a deal or done something wrong or managed a contractor wrong or just screwed it up, right?
Every single one.
See, there you go. Yeah, 100%.
It never goes as planned. You know, that's why we talked a lot at dinner tonight was how you buy the property. You know, if you buy the property right, things will go, you'll be okay. If you don't buy the property right, things can go miserably. You know, obviously you got to manage the contractors. You got to hope there's a buyer out there. You got to figure out the design. But you got to buy the property right. I mean, that's really the main thing. And really a lot what Dakota said. I mean, I remember back in the day where I had a little notepad and I thought I was so cool, you know, because I was just analyzing deals on a notepad, you know. Now we've got the spreadsheets and, you know, things are a lot more. We're making sure we cover all of our bases. Like you said, taxes, utilities. I mean, who thinks about utilities while you're flipping a house? Who thinks about mowing the grass?
Yep.
You know, I mean, I never used to consider those types of expenses, but those are real expenses. Like those are real expenses you have to pay. So when you're analyzing deals, you know, it's very simple to get on Excel. I mean, you can probably go to ChatGPT, or I'm sure someone up here will give you guys a spreadsheet, but, you know, analyze them and don't always look at best case either. You know, you want to look at the prettiest comp on the street and you think like, hey, I think mine's going to be better than that one and I'm going to be able to sell it for more than that person. Well, you know, you didn't consider that, you know, they've got a bump out on their garage or they've got a stamped concrete patio, you know. So there's some things like that you really need to consider up front when you're analyzing the deals.
100%.
I would say, and it's super cliche, but honestly, like, your network is your net worth. They say that all the time. And I would just say, like, now where I'm at, like, I know before I buy something or go and look at it 90% of the time, if I'm going to do it, who's going to do it, or who will buy that property because it, you know, they specialize in that. And the one thing I would say, you know, I think a big hurdle for a lot of the people that would either flip for the first time or even if you've flipped a bunch is like, well, how do I find the contractors? Well, I'll tell you right now, and I don't know how many of you know this, but Allen County has the building department. That's all public information. You can all go there, and I've done this, trust me. You can go there and literally type in every single property, the permit that's been pulled, and you could go find 1,000 contractors here in Allen County for roofs, for electrical, for plumbing, whatever it is. You can go find that, and then really what it comes down to is, are you going to do the work? Are you going to go, you know, when Dakota puts a deal out for $60,000 and you have no idea what it's going to cost to rehab that property, are you going to call 15 contractors off that list and maybe only 3 of them actually show up? And maybe only one of them gives you a quote, but now you know, okay, well, Dakota says it's 60 and it's going to cost me 50 on the rehab. I think this, you know, the ARV, call Jackie and say, what's this worth retail wise, or Jordan? And they say 150. Now you know all your numbers. You literally have no excuse to not go out and do it. It really just boils down to, are you going to do the work? And, you know, before this REIA started, there used to be one off of Wells Street, you know, the old school one, and the Jeff Vaughns of the world, and the Colin Youngs and the Mike Andersons, and, you know, that's how I started. Yep. I didn't get, and that's the problem I think nowadays with social media and everything else. Everybody sees the highlights and thinks that, you know, it just came so easy, but it's really just like, you got to get out there and be willing to take people to lunch. Yep. Or Colin Young for a cup of coffee. We'll sit and talk to you for hours. I mean, really, it just boils down to that. Are you willing to do the work necessary to really make it come to fruition? Because at the end of the day, someone's going to do it, and it's either probably going to be somebody in this room or you. Yep. So,
you.
I just want to piggyback off of just Beau talked about buying the deal right, and then obviously you want to make sure you're not spending too much money like on the materials, and just have a good understanding of that. One of the things that I hate having to go through a middleman in order to get stuff done. I think just as an administrator or a school principal, just leadership, there's just something about that. Like, let me just talk to this painter directly, this plumber directly. Let me get this connection at Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever, and just have a real understanding of those numbers too. One thing that we do in our rentals, we try to systematize everything. I know the paint that we're going to use, this is the wall, this is the ceiling, this is the trim, these are the vanities, these are the lights. I know what those numbers are. That way when somebody moves out, we got quick turnaround and a supply of this paint, this trim, this. We know what we're doing in that facet. The same thing in rentals or flips, excuse me. If you look at some of the work that we've done, you might see a lot of the same things depending on the scale of the house. If I'm doing a 5,000 square foot house, I mean, obviously I'm gonna have a soaker tub, things that I'm not gonna put at this house that we're getting ready to put on the market on Fairfield. So, but you're gonna see a lot of the same design elements. You're gonna see a lot of the same paint. My painters know we're going to do this, we're going to use this is the flooring that we're going to use. I typically have 1, 2, or 3, like a gold, silver, or bronze grade material, and you'll see a lot of those elements throughout the scope of a project. So again, it just depends on the house, the quality of finish that we want to have at the end, and being able to understand the levels of what you want to put into it. But also with the contractors, so I manage the contractors because I'm at the flips, I'm in the houses, I'm looking at the projects, I'm with them daily, and I try to take out the go-betweens. I buy the materials now. I don't go through them to get materials because then you get they try to jack you up on the prices, the extra 10, 20%. I take them out of the equation. What is your labor cost for this? So I try to focus on that, get my numbers down so that we can have a higher ARV at the end.
Let's go.
I want to talk about numbers. Profit.
Huge, yeah.
Guys, do your flips right. I mean, the shortcuts, I'm guilty of it. I mean, Tammy's always on, we've got to do things right. My wife is on me about it. Do these flips right. You guys are representing not only yourself and your company, but you're also representing everyone else around here. Flipper's got a bad name. So I'm a little different. We do a lot of stuff in my hometown. So we're constantly striving to just do the right thing. If you got a 30-year-old furnace, swap it. If you got some wood paneling that's bubbling at the bottom, you can't just paint that because there's water behind it. So do the right thing. That's kind of one of my biggest pet peeves with the industry is people just not doing the right thing. And I know it's hard because we're all trying to look at the bottom dollar. We're all trying to make sure we make money in the end, So sometimes profit isn't everything. Sometimes peace of mind is really good. I can sleep at night. I know I'm turning over a good product for a new family. Those are some big ticket items, when I look at flipping a house. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think that's great. Speaking on numbers specifically, and I love the integrity piece because it is easy to just focus on the money. But let's talk about money quickly. Run us through, just panel-wise, what constitutes a good flip for you? Like, do you go off of, I want to make a minimum amount based on a price point, like anything under 100,000. I'm not going to do the flip if I'm not going to make at least 20 after all expenses. If it's a heavy rehab, I need to make at least 50. Is it, if I know I'm going to take 6 months to do this project, I've got to make 20% of my money. Like, what are the metrics? How do you work backwards on a flip to make sure that it's a deal you're willing to risk your time and money? Because at the end of the day, there is inherent risk if you are going to invest. There is a chance you could lose money, right? And the goal is to hopefully never lose money, right? But at some point, if you don't get in the game, you're not going to even have the chance to get a bat and make some actual money, right? So where is that kind of gauge for you? Like, so you're safe, but you're willing to take risk, and you might just come out swinging ahead. You might, and quickly before you answer, one thing that my friend Dakota said a long time ago, or we went to a mastermind, I can't remember, but he said, big deals get smaller and small deals die. So I think running conservatively is extremely important. And you can also get to the point of analysis paralysis where you never actually do a deal because you're expecting 100%. There's no way I can lose money, right? So if we can run through some numbers.
So first, a caveat, like I do very little flipping at this point in time. Most of the stuff I'm doing is wholesaling or hoteling. doing the minimal to get it to the market to be able to get the top dollar, or selling it to someone like Alan and letting him take and babysit all the contractors and do all that. But that being said, I would say for me, like at a minimum, I'm looking at 30%. And that's just for me to even get excited about it. And for me, that's just because when you really factor it in and look at the numbers, when you back out realtors fees and holding times, and it always runs over, and you're going to have, insurance, taxes, all these extra things that when you are looking at it originally, the numbers in your eyes get really big. And by the time you get to the end, you're like, man, I should have just sold that for $10,000 and let somebody else do that and take it. That's really, really good at that and do that, from start to finish. And so for me, that's where I look, and really what it boils down to is it always comes back to where you're buying it. What you buy it at, you make your money up front. If you overpay at the beginning, it doesn't matter how much you save, you're going to end up being disappointed at the end. So it really comes down to making sure you get it right at the very beginning. And then, you may have to sacrifice it at the end. Maybe you don't hit the 30%. Maybe you hit 22, and you can still be okay with that. But I think if you go in and you're already just looking at, I want to make 20 grand on 200, you're going to be very disappointed at the end of the project.
Absolutely.
I don't think we have like a percentage that we're necessarily shooting for. Back in the day, it was kind of like, hey, if I'm going to manage this project, because you are managing a project, you're not just calling a contractor, go flip this house for me, I'll see you in 3 months and let's sell it and make money. It doesn't work like that.
It would be nice.
Yeah, it definitely would be nice. You're babysitting more than not. No offense to any of my contractors if you're out there. But yeah, it would be, I would say like, $30,000 is a good, average flip in our type of market. We're selling, $200,000, $300,000 houses. Obviously, if I'm investing, $600,000, $700,000 on a house, I want to make more. It's more of a risk. But once again, it goes back to doing the right thing, and a lot of stuff that we do in our hometown, it's not necessarily about the profit. Back in the day, it was definitely about the profit. I was trying to get ahead, trying to make this thing work. But today, I think we've done 31 flips this year, and our average is probably somewhere in that 30 to 50 range, and it's been good. It's been a good year. There's definitely been some deals where there's we may make 10, 15 grand, but there's definitely some deals where you're making 60, 70 grand. So it's just every house is different, every deal is different. It's yeah.
I think because I deal with multiple groups of teams, the flipping for others is something that I look at. When I have somebody like my good friend Eric, one of the best painters in the city.
Woo!
When I'm working with someone like that, or he's a part of my team, I want to make sure I keep that contractor happy, because they're going to help me make money at the end of the day. So it's always about, can I give you work? So I want to make sure if I don't have my 1, 2, 5, whatever flips that I'm working on, I may take on a house or a project for Dakota or for Beau or whomever, just because I want to make sure I'm managing them. I'm looking after my team, my crew. These are my people. So I want to make sure, I've been fortunate enough to be at a place now where able to, okay, there's these projects, they're not my projects. I'm going to make a little bit of money, but it's bigger than that for me. I want to make sure that they're good, that they're continuing to put money in their pocket, because they know that I'm going to have, hey, I got 4 more houses next week that we're going to dive into.
Yeah. That job security.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just thinking about getting asked to even be on this panel with the shift that we've kind of made this year. So we've taken some heavy losses on some flips just in the last probably 2 quarters. We've been offloading them. I was telling the guys, actually, we had 49 flips going on at the same time in December. And what I looked at was the lifestyle. We talked about that earlier, like what life have you been able to create? And what I looked at is like the lifestyle and the risk that I was taking could take down all of this other stuff that was built. And with a wife and kids and stuff, I really don't want to lose it all and have to rebuild it. I'm very confident that I'd be able to, but I don't want to put them through that. And so I shifted from more flipping into wholesaling mostly now. And so when we're going to flip a property now, well, before that, I want to talk about the cash conversion cycle. So is anybody familiar with that cash conversion cycle? Okay, a few of you guys. So cash conversion cycle is basically, okay, let's say I spend money on advertising. You put money in, how long does it take you to get the money back? And obviously with wholesaling, it's a whole lot shorter because that we track everything now from, okay, when was that lead created date to when we got it under contract to when we actually close on the property to when we either sell it or whatever the dispo process is, and we measure the time in between each one. And flipping your cash conversion cycle is typically from lead created date to actual close is somewhere around 6 to 8 months. And so on a wholesale deal, we're usually about half that. So we're around 3 to 4 months. And so we can just turn revenue so much faster and do what we're good at and do what we like to do so much more. And so that's what we evaluated and why we kind of shifted. We still flip. We have I think maybe 7 or 8 properties that we have right now. And so what we look at is, again, that cash conversion cycle and then the risk of money we're putting in. Or honestly, sometimes if an agent or a wholesaler brings us a deal, then we're going to underwrite that to close it. And we might daisy chain it. Daisy chaining is when you wholesale it to somebody else, but we're willing and prepared to close on it if that we can't even sell it at that point. And so that's what we have to do. And so sometimes we'll still flip if you guys brought us a deal and you're like, hey, I need an end buyer and you need a guarantee closing, then we're willing to put up our own money and do it. But it's to answer the question directly, is 30 is our minimum. But if we're going to put in $100 and over $100,000, we want to make more than that. So it depends on how long it's going to take, the cash conversion cycle, and then also how much money we're going to put into it. And again, resale value. I would say if you're looking over the 300 ARV, 30 is not enough because the holding costs eat you alive on how long you're going to hold the money for, how long you hold the utilities for. And in my experience, that 3 to 500 range, they sit there a little bit longer. They're harder to sell, and a lot of times you got to do pretty big price drops, and so you need a lot of spread just to protect yourself. So it really depends on the deal, but I would say on average 30 is the number we go for. But again, it's based on all these variables, and it's hard to give just a straight answer.
I think one of the things that is great that you just talked about, and I think that a lot of people get a lot of value from, is we talked about holding costs, specifically interest cost, which is one of, outside of the material and labor, is probably the biggest expense. So if we can quickly go through, hello? There we go. Sorry guys. I can just yell if we need to.
I got one last thing I wanted to say really quick too is that I want to make sure we mention, because all of us talked about it. The market is shifting pretty quickly, and so we also don't look at sold comps anymore. So I used to look at sold when we're comping properties. We look at a year back. We don't do that anymore. We look at a year back, and then I look at everything that's active, and then we see what's pending for, and then sometimes I even ask Jordan, hey, what did that actually, what is it going for? What's it going to close at? So don't just look at sold properties anymore, because it's shifting quick. And I would say whatever you think it's going to sell for, just look at your actives and let's see what things are actually selling for. And that's something that we all agreed on. So just be very careful on what you're comping.
Yeah, I think that's really great. Right now, if you are going to flip, you need to look at what your competition is. You can't just, during COVID, when interest rates were 2 or 3%, every house had 20 offers on them. You can throw up anything, grandma special, whatever, and it would get multiple offers, would get weight inspection, appraisal gaps, your dream as far as offers go. But now, it's in a weird place. So you have to write conservatively, you have to buy well, and then lastly, you have to look at what is my competition, because if a buyer has more options, they're going to pick the thing that's going to give them the better finishes for the same money. They just will, right? On money specifically, what I would love, because most people have this limiting belief that I have to have money to flip, or there's not enough money. I can have all the deals in the world, but if I don't have the money, how am I going to do it? So if you guys would mind, talk us through how do you fund your flips, the different strategies you've used, and what to look out for from a money cost perspective. That way you don't screw yourself if you go into a flip using other people's money.
try to use every avenue possible. I think currently we're focused more on principal properties. So just the houses that we want to concentrate on, our own flips. When we first started, I had just stepped away from being a school principal, so that W-2 job went out the window. So my good friend at Bippin State Bank was like, no, we can't give you any more money because you don't have a job. And you need to be able to sustain this for a certain amount of time. So I quickly learned, I'm like, what? You know me, like we've been doing this. Like I've borrowed this amount of money from you and now you're not gonna give me a buck? No. So going back to relationships, that same individual now is a friend of ours and also a partner of ours. And so we've been able to build a partnership. So when you don't have the money, having partnerships allow you to still be able to scale, still be able to dive into the game. Here recently, probably in the last, if we don't use our own cash, depending on how you buy, then we've used a lot of hard money. And with the projects that I look at that we're going to tackle or take on, I feel like I can get in there between 3 to 6 weeks to be turned around to get it to the market. So if I can't do that, well, that's the goal. That's the goal. But if
real quick, while he's there, speed is your best friend when you're flipping. If you can get in and out fast, that is the highest likelihood that you have a chance to profit on the deal. What happens so often, and I know that you guys will talk more about this, it is so easy to have a project that you think is going to take 2 weeks to turn around or a month to renovate, and you get 3 months down the road, and now your house is still halfway done. Now you got to hire a new contractor. So those things are very easy to let the car run off the ramp.
And that's where the holding costs start to bite you, and you're like, then you hit. Yeah, then you get the house to the market, and we're in a market like we're in today, and it's a little softer than it was this time last year. So you have to be patient with that process. So maybe you're going to go a little bit under what that ARV is so that you can get it off your books quickly. So it's just an example of how we go about that.
Every deal's different, obviously. Early on, we would get really creative with it. We would find, I sold Jordan a property on contract before,
Down and no payments for 2 months.
Yeah, it's dumb of me. But yeah, so early on, I really got my start by getting creative. I had some friends that had some family that had some properties they wanted to get rid of, and I'm like, well, hey, let me hold it for me, let me fix it up real quick, and I'll flip it. I'll split it with you. So did that a couple times early on and got really creative on how we were doing the flips. Since then, obviously things have changed a little bit. So it's, we kind of analyze it on our spreadsheets. Honestly, we look at, do we use our own cash or do we use hard money? And every deal's different. Luis bought me one Monday and he's like, hey, we got to close Wednesday. Obviously that's going cash. If I buy from Dakota, I got 30 days, hopefully. And I'm going to go hard money with that if there's room for it, and I also kind of weigh, hey, do I want to pay a hard money lender 8-9% and 2 points or $2,000 up front, or do I want to make that 8-9%, and a lot of it's a cash flow thing too, hey, another thing in real estate, you guys will realize one day you got $1 million, the next day you don't. So it depends if you got the cash in the bank as well. So yeah, all different avenues. Get creative with it. Hard money has been a tool that we kind of recently started to use, and as you guys start to build your portfolios and you guys get equity in your deals, you can go to your small local banks and get line of credits against your properties. That's been a big asset for us, is being able to get a line of credit against some of our equity, which is same as cash. So you're able to go and acquire properties, quickly, when people need you to.
So I hate banks. No shots at banks here, but I almost only deal with private money. So because of the people that I've come to know over the years, I almost all deal with local investors here, people who either are investing themselves, or maybe they're tired of it and they're completely out of it now, or they do have a W-2 and make really good money, but they don't have the time for another job. And so I kind of look at it, if you're going to do hard money and spend 12%, I'd rather pay that to somebody that I know in this group or here locally. And so I kind of underwrite all my deals with that assumption that I'm just going to pay 12%. And if it doesn't pencil out that way, then it won't work for me. And so that's kind of, I've Note and Mortgage and Jay Reddings obviously came and spoke here, and he was my mentor at the very, very beginning when I started. And so that kind of got me into that avenue of looking towards private money. The problem with banks is, there's just so much red tape, takes longer. Most of these deals we're talking about here have to happen quickly. And so we're not talking a 30-day close, we're talking a 2-day close. And for a seller that's in a position that needs to cash out, move for whatever reason, it has to happen quick, and banks aren't quick. So I've, basically set up my business to work specifically on 100% with private money.
Me too.
Oh man,
No, I'm not going to talk about private money, but another thing, when I first started, I had no money. I was 23. So I found someone that had money, and I felt like at that point in my life, half of something was better than zero of nothing, So a lot of guys out here want to go out and make that $50,000 flip or the $100,000 flip, but if you really leverage, your network and your people, if you find someone that's maybe done this longer, and that's what this room's kind of all about for you guys, the beginners, to find people that have flipped houses before and maybe partner on a deal with them. Get your feet wet that way. That's not the only way to do it, but it's an avenue that worked well for me and continues to work well for me.
Sorry to steal from you, Alan. But that kind of piggybacking off what he said, my very first flip ever, Jay Redding came and spoke at my class at University of St. Francis. This was 2009. Came and spoke at my class, and as part of your senior year, you had to do an internship. And after he spoke at my class, I went and talked to the teacher, and I said, hey, that really resonated. I want to, can you give me his contact information? And so my senior year project was flipping a house with Jay Redding. And so, he had me read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I had to write reports. He was like a teacher. If you know Jay, he's legitimately like a teacher. But it was a very good experience for me, because what he instilled in me was, if you go into any deal and it only works one way, it's not a deal. And so, as luck would have it, when that property, we bought it. It was a HUD home. We bought it. We flipped it. I used his crew. We got to the end, listed on the market. The market, if you guys weren't around at that point in time, was not the greatest. The bottom basically dropped out. And I am so lucky to have gone into that situation with Jay, mentoring me, saying basically, if I would have only had the avenue to flip that property, I would have been screwed. But what I ended up doing was, the market was soft at that point in time. I turned it into a rental, a Section 8 rental. I actually had the same lady in there for 7 years. The market rebounded at that point 7 years later, and I sold it for a profit. And I didn't lose any money in that deal because I was able to rent it in that time frame. And so I think, again, that just goes back to, you have to have multiple avenues, but also, Jay Redding instilled that in me at the very beginning. If you're looking at deals from just one aspect and it only works with you flipping it, you're probably going to be in a very bad position at the end, because none of us can time the market. None of us are going to have a crystal ball to know, hey, the market's going to get soft, we're going to have no buyers, and if you can't turn around and lease that for an amount that at least covers what you're going to pay in interest, then you're going to be in a world of hurt.
Yeah. Which is hard to do right now, by the way. Hard to lease them at the amount you have into them.
For sure.
All right, man, one of my favorite things is probably financing. I think I like that even more than getting deals, which is wild now. I just found this out just since we started the lending company. Finding a way to get the money is it's so fun, because there's so many different ways. And so I want to give you guys a couple tactical things that I've used. So One is I did use a bank. One suggestion is to get an open line of credit with a bank, and it's not a line of credit like you have the assets, but it's more of like a pre-approval, let's just say. And so we got a pre-approval from a bank. This one was First Federal Savings Bank. They're not as open to it anymore with like newer people, but if you have a relationship with them, they might do this. But they would give us $1 million of a pre-approval, and what they would do is they would do a drive-by appraisal. And so it's more of like they could have it done within 2 weeks. They don't need to go on the inside, because that's usually the biggest issue a lot of times with buying these properties, is getting the appraiser in there when we're supposed to be buying it as is. And so what we would do is we use them for 75% of the purchase. And so that was really nice. Okay, we're buying it. Now we only got to come up with 25% of the purchase and the actual rehab. And so then we used private money lender, and we were able to maximize the amount that we had. So let's say we had $1 million from them. We got $1 million from private lenders. Well, now we can do quite a few flips with that amount of money. And so that's one suggestion that I would use, the strategy that we used to kind of maximize the limited amount that we had. The other thing that we did to find private money lenders, we used Jay's strategy, where you have a business plan, you go meet with people, and it worked for a couple people. And then at one point, we just got so overloaded with deals that we're like, dude, I don't know how we're going to close all these. And so I was freaking out, couldn't sleep for like 2 weeks straight. And at one point, I just told Tony, I'm like, bro, I need help. He's like, all right, Tony's like a master marketer, and what he does is just blast everybody. And so what he did is he took all the emails. He said, hey, here's some properties that we need money on. We had them funded within a week. And so just having he had an email list of just investors. He just blasted out, hey guys, we need this much money on these deals. And then people started calling us, hey, I'll lend on that one. Hey, I'll lend on this one. And so that was a way that we were able to find private money. And then now, I know you guys heard Johnny here, and we started a hard money company. So if you guys need money, reach out to us. We lend to first-time investors, experienced. The most important thing is just, again, type it in your numbers. It doesn't matter whether it's 30% or whether it's 10%. At the end of the day, you need to make sure that the deal makes sense no matter what. And what I usually suggest to people is, Alan is very experienced. He's been doing this a very long time. He's a very good contractor. If you think it's going to take 6 weeks, just triple it and base it off of that, because at the end of the day, it's going to take a lot longer. And I also would highly suggest, no matter what, we did every single one of our notes for 1 year. I don't care if we were thinking it would take a month. We're doing it for 1 year no matter what. And so if somebody wasn't interested in a year, I'm not doing the loan with them. For us, for short term, it's going to be 6 months. We do have an extension period as well. So just don't get yourself caught to where you have to have a balloon at a certain amount of time. So I would say take so much more time than you're going to need to.
Absolutely. So here in a second, we're going to be opening up to Q&A for the rest of the time. So start getting your mind, all right, what questions do I want to ask from these guys? But yeah, just real quick, let's give these guys a massive round of applause. Thank you guys for doing this. These guys have families, they have successful real estate businesses. I think it'd be anywhere else tonight, so just thank you guys for being so gracious with your time. But yeah, we're gonna open up to Q&A. I'll probably have more questions as we go, but who's got questions? I will run to you, so I want really good questions tonight. Let's go. There you go.
In your opinion, what is going to be the effect if the Fed decides to increase rates here once or twice yet this year?
My opinion is probably different than a lot of other people's. I mean, this is just based on everything I see. I go a lot of different places, Vegas, California, Florida. A lot of times whenever the rates go up, it makes affordability lower, which makes Indiana more desirable. And so I actually see more people come here because it's less affordable everywhere else. And so then people come here. And so that's what I've experienced. It's like, the way that I look at things is like, okay, if a property is $200,000, where are you going to go to find one for less than that? And so at the end of the day, like, our risk is really low. Again, I don't deal much in the $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 houses. I usually stay in that more conservative range. And so that's just my perspective, is everybody's going to come from other places and start moving here.
Man, that's a great point. I love that. That's a great point. But I think it still goes back to just running the numbers, make sure you buy it right. I think people are always looking for a house, no matter if the interest rates were 12% at one point or 2%. I think it's just important that you do run your numbers the right way. You do have a good quality product when you put it out there on the market. I think gone are the days where you can put a crap box out there and, I'm just gonna do a quick, I'm gonna put $5 into it and I'm gonna get this big profit, or I think those days are gone just because the risk on both sides of it has increased, and as the rates go up, that risk increase for the buyer as well. So you wanna make sure that you're buying it right, making sure you have a good quality product that they want to take that risk on because they're gonna be in there long term. So you wanna make sure that you have a good quality product at the end of the day.
Yeah, you guys don't want me to get into politics.
I mean, I know some of us are much younger than I am, but I mean, I see a lot of realtors in the room as well, and some may not have been around for it, but me growing up around my dad, like I hear it all the time, used to be in, like, back in the 80s and 90s, interest rates were in the 15-20% to buy a house. And people don't realize that because they may not have been around there. So it's like looking even at 2 interest rates now, like this is still cheap money. And maybe it affects private lending, maybe it affects banks, maybe you're now instead of 12% for hard money, you're at 14%. But again, it just comes down to your underwriting. You're just gonna have to fit that into your numbers and make sure it works at the end of the day.
Okay, you guys are all rock stars. You've been in the business for a while. So my question for you is, when you were building your business, what was the biggest bottleneck that you had in the business, and how did you overcome that? And more importantly, who is the person that you became during that time, or the mindset shift that you had to make, or systems you had to implement to get over that?
I mean, I know the biggest bottleneck is me. Like I've always, at the end of the day, been the biggest bottleneck in my business. And that's just because I feel like I have to have my hand in everything. And I think for me, the biggest thing was relying on other people and realizing that a lot of people have strengths where I'm very weak. And so for instance, now I work with a contractor where I'm terrible. Like he says he gets excited about doing the artsy fartsy. I hate that stuff with a passion. Like it would drain me to no end. But I have a really good contractor who now I trust even in my own house. Where I'll say, hey, look, I want floor to tile ceiling and I want a floating vanity, and you figure out the rest. And he does. He goes and does it. And I think that's just really, at the end of the day, the biggest bottleneck in my business has been me, and being willing to let go of some of those things and rely on some people for things that I'm really terrible at has just helped me get to where I am.
You guys got anything?
I got something.
All right, this question. The biggest bottleneck that I found was probably 1.5 years, maybe 2 years ago. So coming off of 2020, 2021, everybody thinks that they're just the smartest people alive. Honestly, you just get a property, throw it up, it's going to go 20 grand, over asking. And so at the end of the day, I started to, I'm going to call it ego. What I would say is the biggest thing is everything I touch turns to gold. I'm just a magician with these properties. And I stopped following the principle. And really, that is kind of the mindset that I got into, is it's worked out every other time. And so then I'm going to do what worked in the past instead of following the principles that got me there, which is in my opinion, it's got to be the actual humility to say, dude, if the numbers don't make sense, don't do the deal. And I was pushing that line because it worked out so many times before. And then I just got punched in the mouth enough that I'm like, all right, dude, time to listen and underwrite accordingly and follow my own advice and just run the numbers. Because again, sometimes you get excited or you really want to help a seller or whatever the situation is, and you will think that I'll figure it out, I'll make it up on this. And you kind of lie to yourself on what's going to happen instead of just saying, no, this is the facts. You're not going to make money. And so that was the biggest check for me and the biggest lesson that I had to learn. And I had to teach it to my team too, because that's the other part, is when, similar to what he talks about with contractors on keeping them busy, I have guys that work on 100% commission. If we don't buy deals, we don't make any money. And so I feel like I got to make this happen for them. But then if I lose money, then at the end of the day, I'm just bogging down the whole system, and I'm doing it for a worthy cause. But at the end of the day, if there's no money there, you just have to be honest about it. Look at the numbers, run your numbers, and be just brutally honest with yourself. So
I agree. I think you also got to know when to say no, especially if you're a new person getting into the game and you sell a house and you're like, man, I'm on fire. You know, I just sold one. I'm ready for the next one, and a deal comes your way and you're already ready to say yeah, and it's a bad deal. And you just, sometimes you just gotta, it's great. My wife is exceptional at saying no. I love you, baby. But she's great. She's great to say, no, we're not doing that. And making sure that you have somebody, because you are going to be on a high, you know, once you sell that property, you're fired up, man. Oh, man, bring 10 more on, I'm ready, you know. And she's always been the rock. I've always been the kite. And I like to fly in the sky. So she's really great about just anchoring me and saying, hey, man, well, you got 10 going on right now. What do you need another one for right now? There'll be 5 more next month. So I appreciate that with my wife. And so just being able to make sure your no's mean no and know when to say no.
I want to add something to that real quick. Dude, it's funny because I'm very similar. I feel like me and you are like very similar personalities. And the person who was like that person for me was Tony, actually. Every time we look at a deal, if Tony said it was a good price, I'm like, oh, we got a really good deal. Because he was even more conservative than I was. And so anytime I was like looking at this deal, I'm like, dude, I think it'll work. He's like, I don't think so. And I'm like, no, I think we can really make it work. He's like, no, I don't think so. I'm like, I'm going to buy it. He's like, I don't think you should. But like he was that guy. And so again, I knew if he said it was a deal, I knew it was a steal of a deal.
Yep. All right, here, next one.
Hey guys. Thanks for all the information you've given today. I actually wanted to go back to some of the things that you guys have said when it comes to like tapping onto the things that you love. So like, for example, Alan said like, hey, I love like going into the house and like like seeing the lights and like figuring that stuff out. You know, Dakota said like, hey, I love the art of like trying to figure out deals, etc. So like, what are some other things that we as investors could take away from your experience or aspiring investors here, so that we could also tap on to make us successful like you guys are, whether it's flipping, wholesaling, or commercial, etc. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep. I know for me as a school principal, and it applies to what that question is, as a school principal, I loved, again, that creativity, that the fun. I mean, it was data driven and we were focused. You know, my first year I had to let go of 13 teachers. So I was a turnaround principal for a reason. But what keeps me going is the fun stuff, the creative part. I learned early that I needed to hire people around me that could do the things that wasn't fun for me. I knew I could do discipline. I knew I could do the data. I knew I could do the what have you. I could go in teachers' classrooms and co-teach with them and all those necessary things. But I needed to hire this person that could really take care of discipline so I didn't have to worry about it. I knew when kids were with this individual, they were good. They were going to take care of them. I hired this data-driven person so that, you know what, they're going to just present that information to me so I could quickly make decisions. I hired this person for this, hired this person for that. So the circle that you have around you is critical so that you can enjoy the things that make you the most happy. So for me, having people that can do all those things so that I can go to the house, spend an hour, put things together, that's important. So your team allows you to have that flexibility, that autonomy to be able to do those things.
I love when the wire hits, closing day. That's definitely my favorite. Second thing, I really love taking a vacant, abandoned house that is unlivable. I mean, and I love seeing a young family come in and take care of this house, have pride in this house, and live in there. I mean, you're literally taking a house that should probably be tore down and you're giving it another 100 years of life. You know, if you do the right things and you make this house last for another year, another 100 years, that's really, really rewarding, you know, on the back end. So that's outside of the wire, that's it.
I would say for me, it's just like I've been around sports my whole life. So I think it really comes back to like the team building and all that stuff and knowing people's strengths and weaknesses. For me, like what I get excited about is the deal. you would never want me swinging in a hammer anywhere close to anything that's going on. I'm very, open about that. I've understood that from day one. At the very start, I wasn't great at comping what a rehab was, but finding contractors that I could rely on and say, hey, what do you think? And now at this point, you still don't want me swinging a hammer, but I'm pretty good at going to a property and being like, well, that basement wall is caving in and there's, fuses in the basement, and being able to tell within probably 10-20%, probably 10% of what my contractor comes back at. And so again, I think it just comes down to the team, building people that have the strengths that are that. And also, like, I'm very good with sellers. Like, that's what I get enjoyment out of, is talking to sellers. And maybe it's because of the healthcare backfield, but like knowing their story, knowing why they want to, sell the property and where they're looking to go, and helping them accomplish that task. The fun thing about what I think we get to do as, real estate investors is, like, it doesn't have to be one size fits all. It's not a 30 days and you have to be out. It's, well, maybe I'm bringing my truck and helping you move stuff from your house to get to your new place, or you need 30 days post-possession because you have so much stuff, or how, the homeowner that you go in and they have a trail to their couch or the bathroom, and they're just worried about, how am I going to get all this stuff out? And it's like, you don't have to worry about that. Take your clothes or whatever you want and get out, and we will handle the rest. So for me, it's really knowing that that's my strength, is doing the deal side of things, and letting people that are good at the other stuff do the rest.
Yeah, I would say for me, my favorite things are definitely the deal, like just figuring it out with the seller and doing the best to actually help them solve whatever they're solving. Because at the end of the day, we try to be very straight up with our intentions. A phrase that we use is, the lower that we buy this, the less risk we have. And so just trying to be very straight up about our intentions, but we also want to make sure that they have a good experience. And so that's our goal, is to solve whatever problems they're solving. And I've noticed this is going to be kind of interesting because there's a lot of agents in here. I have a lot more empathy for sellers. I don't do very well with agents, it seems like. I was an agent selling our flips. It didn't work out to where I had as much patience. It felt like they just came across a little bit differently that didn't jive very well with me. So that's one of, I feel like, my biggest strengths. The other one is just the finances and the spreadsheets. But the way that I think that everybody can find theirs is, like, I'll tell you guys a story actually of like how I realized it for myself. There was a day when I was in car sales and I just was making so many phone calls, doing all this stuff. I didn't sell a deal, not one. And I went home so tired. I was exhausted. I was like, dude, that was a long day. It was horrible. And then there's another day, it was on a Saturday, I'm running around like a chicken with his head cut off, like literally just run around giving cars. All right, you go drive. I sold 4 cars that day. I was amped up. I didn't get home until 10 o'clock at night. I couldn't sleep. And because it gave me so much energy and I was so excited about it. And that's the way I feel about like doing deals with real estate, looking at spreadsheets. If you guys have ever seen me, I'm like, dude, look at this spreadsheet I made. I'm like, I got all this stuff. Like, I just get excited about numbers and math. Like, it's weird. And it's just 8th grade algebra, but it's just fun. I really enjoy it. I love looking at the numbers and I'm like, this is amazing. And so I actually found that I like numbers more than I like anything else, but I still like helping people with the numbers, because that's really what it comes down to, is they don't understand as much, and so I'm just explaining to them exactly how everything's gonna look. So I love that kind of stuff. It's just breaking down their frame of thinking and then helping them to reframe. One example of another close we would give is, this lady, we're actually working with her right now, trying to help her with her property. And she's like, well, that what you guys are offering me would not lower my expenses. I'm like, you live in a 4,000 square foot house. Are you talking about your payment or your expenses? She's talking about her payment. She's not looking at the whole picture here. She's looking at what's my payment versus what's my payment gonna be. Oh, it's gonna be about the same. I'm like, right, but your expenses are going down. And so she's looking at it through a frame and she can only see it one way. So I like to help them see another frame through math. And so that's been one of my superpowers and something that I enjoy. But for anybody else who's looking for theirs, look for something that the more you do, the more you want to do it. That's a very good indicator that that's your superpower.
Hi, Tim Stein here. Yeah. So one of the questions I have, I've been flipping for a long time now, and anybody that's been in any business long enough, you get to that point where you're like, all right, I've hired out the stuff that's easy to hire out. Particularly in my case, it's like contractors, accountants, realtors, the things that are real easy to basically get people to do that job. What, because I'm pretty sure all you guys have actual employees, right? And I don't have any employees, right? So what's the process like of going from no employees to actually having someone that works for you? And what's kind of the mentality, the process? Who did you hire first? Why? What's kind of that process been like for you?
I have 0 employees. I have, 40-some flips going on, 300 apartments, retail, office, and I have 0 employees, and I kind of like it that way.
Okay.
Same.
Wow. Oh.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. I mean, I sub out as much as I can. I mean, we've got people that work for us primarily for us, but we're paying them from 10 different LLCs, and they do their own stuff on the side and whatnot. They're very loyal to us, but yeah, no employees.
I would say for the guy who does have employees, you can't delegate everything. You can't delegate everything. A lot of times we go into these things like, oh man, I'm gonna hire this. Sometimes you got to do the work too. Sometimes you got to. I'm gonna be there. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I don't want to pick up that hammer, but you know what? I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna get all that trash off that site. I'm gonna take care of that demo. I'm gonna be on site because I want to understand what's going on my project. Nobody's gonna jerk me on my project. That's me. So I own that. Whether I can do this or do nothing, I can be present. But you can't delegate every single thing. That's how you get taken advantage of. When you don't know, man, you charged me how much and you just pulled that off the wall? You don't know because you weren't there. So sometimes you have to be present.
Yeah, so I'm trying to understand like the purpose, I guess, behind the question. What are you thinking? Like, what is the end goal? What are you trying to accomplish?
Basically just to be able to continue to grow and scale when I can't scale myself, right?
So you want to continue to scale?
Right.
Man, scaling is a very interesting thing. A lot of people talk about scaling like it's this amazing thing, and I've been there, and we got up to we had 17 or 18 people in-house. We had 7 or 8 VAs, and we netted the same amount of money, if not less. And it was so much more headaches. I'm telling you, when you have employees, what you have again is responsibility. They're talking about responsibility, but honestly, if they stop doing what they're doing, those guys would find other work. And same thing with employees, it just feels different because you're so much closer. And so it's very difficult. And I become very good friends, mentors to these people. So I would just say know that it's responsibility and a lot of responsibility. And so freedom, scaling, again, I would go back to why do you want to scale? Most of the time people scale for freedom. When I found the in-between phase that most of us would be at, somewhere between, let's call it 5 and, I don't know where the cap is because I never got there. Let's call it 30 because I haven't even been close to that. 20 was not the number. But let's say maybe between 5 and 30 employees is it seems like it's the most difficult and the most painstaking spot to be in because you don't have enough scalability, employees, legwork in order to scale properly to where you have management in place that you don't have to do everything like Alan talked about, where you have to look at everything, manage everything, see it all. Because at the end of the day, you think it's going well, you start diving into the details and you find so much broken inside of it. So I would go back to why you want to scale, and I don't know if that helps at all, but that's just been my experience on it. I would go back to probably just continue to scale the way that they have because they make a lot more money than I do and they don't have any employees. So let's just do what they're doing and not do that.
Find yourself a good spouse, a good. My wife's not even here, and I brag about her. Find and same with you. Our wives are realtors. It's tough. Find yourself someone that can, work in the business with you. I was looking at Tammy, my property manager, women are pretty powerful, dude. But one of my best contractors is a female, so that's not employees, but, some pretty powerful people.
Yeah. I think systems are important too. So, how do I want to answer that. So just knowing if I go into multiple projects, this comes first, this comes second, this comes third, in that order, as long as I know what those systems are, then I can scale. For example, I have 3 houses, I know we need to do the demo first, and then we're gonna, anything inside the walls we're gonna focus on, and then I'm gonna put the insulation in the drywall. But I can start here at this project and then go to this next project, do the same thing. Go to this next project, do the same thing. Then my electricians are coming in. Then my plumbers are coming in. Then my painters are coming in. And so just making sure you understand the systems that work for you, because I think once you understand your systems, then you're able to go fast once everybody understands their role and their part.
I would say from like an employee standpoint, if you're looking to do more, maybe your first step would, and this is obviously just a suggestion, is maybe find a project manager, somebody that you can hire, somebody within this group, somebody you know who maybe is interested in it, and just having them maybe learn alongside you, especially if they don't have the experience. But if you're looking to, build that up, maybe you get to the point where you can have them running to multiple jobs, because that's one thing I never, again, go with what your strong points are. Like, I'm not going to be there every day. I'm not going to drive to 5 different properties and see who's laid what, as far as the flooring and all the other stuff that goes on. So, I find those detailed-oriented people that can be on top of the contractors, keep them on their schedule, especially if that's what you're looking to do, is like take it to the next level. I think maybe, I don't think you have to hire a bunch of different people. The other thing I'd say is sometimes more is more headache. Your group you work with now may be great. You may get a second crew in there and they may be awful. And then you're spending the time with your first group that's really good fixing the problems that the second group is. So it's really just building that team out, building that system out, and then maybe hiring somebody that wants to come alongside you and overseeing those projects, because I just know at the end of the day, some of these guys are really good at it, Alan being one of them. That's not what I'm gonna excel at. So
I got one last suggestion, actually. So one last thing that I usually look at whenever I am deciding, okay, do we want to bring this in-house or not, is going to be your cost. So how much are you spending on each one of those, and do you think that you can deliver a similar product, whatever it is, at a way lower cost? And so an example I was actually telling Alan is we've had a lot of issues with bookkeeping. And so bookkeepers have been very difficult, especially when you're doing flipping, you're doing wholesaling, you're doing rentals, and you have other businesses. It gets very jumbled and mixed up, and then they don't see the consistency in it because it's not very consistent. And so anyway, long story short is it's been horrible for us. We ended up bringing that in-house, and we have a VA. Now, granted, honestly, I was telling Alan, I had to learn accounting. I now know how to do a balance sheet. I know how to do a P&L. I know how to split up the property from the land, and just know so much more about it than what I should. But at the end of the day, I thought that the tax accountants were doing it correctly, and they weren't. But I didn't even know that they weren't, because they're supposed to be the professionals. But I looked at them. We were spending up to $5,000 a month on tax accountants. It's freaking crazy. And I was actually just talking to our guys. I sometimes get mad and just kind of walk around the office and complain. And not very often, because I try to stay positive and I definitely don't want to influence them, but sometimes it just happens. I just get pissed off and I'm like, you know what, that kind of frustrated me, I'm just going to go tell everybody about it. So we paid we paid our bookkeeper. I've been paying bookkeepers so much for years, but anyway, we've been paying $5,000 a month for, let's just say, 2 years. And now, because I found out he was not accurate, I then had to spend more time, energy, and money in order to undo what he already did, because I don't know, if you guys know anything about bookkeeping, you can basically make a journal entry, add it in there, and it's kind of separate from the actual transactions, which is what actually happened. Journal entries are kind of like phantom, settlement statement stuff that didn't go through the bank account, but it happened. And so I didn't know what was what. It was all mixed up. And so I had to spend so much more money just undoing what they did. And so it actually cost me money by hiring them. And everybody says, oh, my person's good. You'd be surprised, honestly. And I've worked with some of the best. And you're always like, oh, well, listen to somebody who's been there before and who is higher and, done a lot of deals or money and stuff. I took their suggestions. Still horrible. And so at the end of the day, all that being said, now we have the most accurate books we've ever had ever in the history of, like, since we've been in business, 2018. And it's a VA that we pay $7.50 an hour. Now, again, there's a caveat to that because the last 5 months I've been teaching her everything that I know with the tax account, because what's crazy is a lot of times the person that you're talking to that owns the business knows what they're doing, but the people that they hire don't know what they're doing, and they're using your books to train them how to do it. And so we just did a lot of meetings with him, and then I trained her on how to actually look. But now we're getting accurate information, which to me it's not even so much the cost versus what I was spending, $7.50 versus $5,000 a month. It's really what decisions now can I make for the business because I have accurate data is like, we're talking millions. And how much more debt can I get now from banks because I know my numbers like the back of my hand now because I know it's accurate. And so that's what I would look at is what are you spending versus what you can bring in-house and the cost, and that's kind of how I evaluate whenever I'm bringing somebody in.
Thank you.
All right, last question of the night. Mr. Zach.
Hey guys, Zach Lake. We're just starting out here. I know bottom line is numbers. How much do you guys factor in like location? Do you guys look specifically towards like, oh, it's close to Parkview Field or a campus or something like that? Or like, would you favor a property more towards Fort Wayne as opposed to Churubusco, or does it just come down to numbers?
So I'll tell you just for me real quick.
Just real quick, I would say the overarching question is how do you make your buy box?
Yeah.
For the people here.
Just for me, I look at stuff that will deter it, and so I look for more of that stuff than I do anything else. So like if you're gonna go be close to a highway, that is a big problem. If you're close to an airport, that's a problem. Like, so anything that you think will detract buyers is really what I look at more. Other than that, I'm just looking at comps and seeing what's in the area and stuff.
I would agree with that. But I don't want to drive across the other side of town. I'd rather, I don't, how do I say this? I'm trying to figure it out. Because we're doing a lot all at the same time, I really don't want to go around the entire city of Fort Wayne. So lazily, I'm going to choose areas that aren't too far from home base if I can control it. And it just depends on, for my situation, if we're busy, if we're slow. If we're slow, I may drive a little bit further. I may do that for another investor to help turn around a property for them. So we have different avenues that we can go just because of how we scaled to this point. But typically, if I'm doing a flip, there's certain area codes that I want to stay in personally, but money's money, whether you go 4506, 1502. So if you buy it right, you can typically finish on the other end the right way.
Yeah, a lot of what Alan said. I mean, our buy box is very big right now. I mean, we're flipping houses in Alabama, Winona Lake, all over the northern counties in Fort Wayne. But primarily when I was managing a lot of the projects, it was in my line of fire. Like DeKalb and Allen County, I was coming up and down 69. If I couldn't get off and go see one of my properties, then I probably wasn't buying it. A lot of my biggest headaches have been houses that were just not in line with that path. We did one in Butler and it was just a nightmare. Although it was only, 30 minutes from my house, it was just the opposite way of which I was going every day. So big buy box, but yeah, definitely like Alan said, in that line of fire where I'm traveling every day is ideal.
I would say as long as there's like a strong buyers pool for the area that you're doing. Like for me, I'll look at it almost anywhere, but I know like we've had issues in Hamilton before. I remember looking at a property on the MLS and could not figure out why it was so cheap. And then when I Googled it, it turned out there had been a double murder there. So, the stigma of that and people commenting on Facebook, like, I can't believe this is for sale and stuff like that. But other than that, I think if you go into a market, especially Fort Wayne, Allen County in general, I think, your buyer's pool is huge here. Now, if you go to Arcola or no dig on Arcola or even Auburn or Garrett, your buyer's pool is just a lot smaller. So you need to look at how many have sold in the last 90 days? What's active on the market? Is there a ton on the market and nobody's buying it? Then maybe take a look at that and maybe shy away from that.
Okay, so lastly, if you guys could just go down the line and just leave the final message you'd like to leave from this panel to impart upon these people that may be deciding to take the biggest risk of their life and do their first flip ever, or trying to quit their W-2 job and come really make a go of this, what would you say to the people in this room as your final imparting message?
I mean, for me, it really comes down to action. And I kind of talked with these guys at dinner about that. And that at the end of the day, even if you make a mistake, you learn something from it and you'll be better the next time. But if you continue to stay, month after month, you come back here and Jordan asks you the question and you're in the same spot, then you're not doing enough to take action to get you to that next spot. Because even if you make a mistake, you're going to learn something and hopefully, get better on the next one. If you just stay, in your constant status, you're never going to get to the next level.
Pretty much that. I mean, guys, you just got to do it. I mean, if you've got zero right now, or you've got debt, student loans, at your own personal house, like, what the hell do you got to lose, to be honest with you? I mean, there's really
it's true.
Like, what do you got to lose, And I told Jordan, Jordan, I was ignoring Jordan's phone calls and screening him because I knew what he wanted. I didn't want to come here. I didn't want to do this, but I'm glad I did. Thank you, Jordan. I'd do anything for you, buddy. But you guys just got to do it, I mean, when I started, I had nothing. I mean, what did I have to lose, So, and I'm so glad that I did, because my life has drastically changed because I just did it, and you guys just got to put yourselves out there and go do it.
Agree with these guys. I would say don't be afraid to bet on yourself. Have a vision that's big enough to make your wife pissed off at you. And
I know that one.
I love my wife, but she's my biggest cheerleader and my biggest hater at the same time.
Jackie's amazing.
Only in the sense that, you know what, she's like, you're doing too much, And in my head, I'm like, man, we're not doing enough. Man, we can do so much more, and we have the ability to do that, and we've been so fortunate to be able to dive in and have these relationships, and we just love what you do. So that would be how I would encourage you.
Yeah, so I heard this story the other day, and it reminds me a lot of what Adam said, and it reminds me a lot of what it really takes to, I believe, succeed in business, but in life, anything you do. And it was basically just like, let's say that, there's this contest and there's a crazy pitcher who can throw like 130 miles per hour, like just something crazy. And all you have to do is crack it once, get a home run, and then you become a billionaire, let's just say, right? How many people would line up for that? You're talking millions of people would line up, right? They go, they just strike out. How many people are gonna go back to the end of the line because they were embarrassed, because they showed up, because they looked stupid, because it's like, oh dang dude, like, or they just straight quit, right? And so that's really what it comes down to, is what Adam was talking about, was come back to it, use it as a learning lesson and show up, and eventually you can win. Now, run all your numbers. Don't just go in there and just like swing blindfolded, right? That's not what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, if you show up, you get punched in the mouth, don't be scared to show up again and again and again. I can't tell you how many times I've been willing to go and try something and fail and look real stupid. And that's really what I think it comes down to, is you have to be willing to look stupid while you're doing something. A lot of times people see me and they're like, holy crap, like this guy does this thing really well. It's because I look stupid for a long time. If you guys see me play basketball, which Adam has, I look real stupid. And then sometimes the ball goes in, but you're like, dude, that was the ugliest shot I've ever seen. But it goes in somehow because like I just practiced the stupid way, I guess. And I've never been coached, but seriously, like it's ugly, but I get it done, and sometimes I score some shots. And so at the end of the day, that's what I would advise you guys, is get back in line, and eventually you're gonna hit one. I promise you guys. So
that's great, guys. Let's get a selfie with the group real quick. Give them a friggin' round of applause. Come on up. Let's get a selfie. I'm gonna try to get everybody in if I can. I don't know if we'll be able to. I'm going to get up on this chair. We'll see how this goes. I might get punched. We'll see. All right. I don't know if I can get everybody. All right. 1, 2, 3. Nice. All right, guys, give these guys a massive round of applause. Thank you so much. Love you, brother. Great job. Thank you. Now, hey, networking time is all that's left, so you guys can mingle, network. You can find your private money lenders in here, your deals. Like, make this time intentional, guys. Let's network and let's have a great rest of our night. Also, it does shut down at 9, just so you know, so we got to be out around 9.